I am not interested in your Instagram status. I'm not interested in going to nightclubs till 4, 5, 6 in the morning when I'm up at time in the morning. Just not going to work, sweetie. Once more, it goes full circle. You find yourself saying things to even the hottest girls that you always dreamed about when you were a kid. You realize, I don't really want that. And then you find yourself saying things to them that they would have said to you in the past, like, we're not compatible. I don't think there's chemistry. I don't see this going anywhere. And then you're like, okay, I got it.
Get to hear back.
Yeah.
Um, are there any habits or mindsets that you have not overcome that you're still working on?
One that I'm working on now. It's funny that I watched. It was like a Hindu guru or something months ago, and he said something about you make a declaration to the world like I am ready for this, and then it'll throw you bits of failure to really test your resolve or will to see if you are. So, financially, I've always done well financially compared to my peers, but that's judging myself more in the corporate world. So I rose through my career very quickly, do very well, hit my first six figures by the time late 20s or 30s. That was a big milestone for me too. Like, oh my God, six figures, that's so much. And now if someone gets on the phone for a project, like if it's not in the six figures, it's not even the starting point. We're just not having a conversation. So once we're upgrading that belief system, but starting to get to the point to where I'm thinking in bigger terms and renegotiating my relationship with money. Again, I mentioned just right here a second ago that I'm pretty happy with very little. I don't need a lot. I'm very in tune with my senses and the environment, and I'm very curious. I like to study and I like to do a lot of introverted stuff. And even if I had access to the finest things in life, I just don't feel like I really need it. But in doing so, I put that out to the universe and I was making just enough to get by. Getting into the higher strata, okay, I want to make more money, not because I have higher tastes by any means, but I want to start doing stuff. It scratches that curiosity part of my brain. I want to be able to go down more of this avenue. I want to create opportunities for other people. So now that I put together that goal set, completely unrelated to dating, completely unrelated to fitness, more just who I am and the legacy I want to leave in the world. Then I find that okay, well, your money mindset starts to shift a bit. And then I spent the last fiscal quarter or the last quarter of last calendar year ironing everything out. Like, here's a financial plan. Here's the money with the money I had at the time coming in. Here's how I'm going to allocate it. Here's where it's going to go out. It'll put me here and this in this amount of time. Very structured goal sets. And then at the beginning of the year, I mentioned the pre-call, a couple of my biggest deals fell through. I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. But I am living the consequences of a previous time to where I was in like, oh, this sucks. And I find that my lows today are way higher than my wildest imagination of my highs, even in years past, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So it's one of those things to where, okay, put out to the universe, like, here's who I am, here's how I'm going to show up, here's the goal. And then like, okay, yeah, really funny. We see you, Jaren. Now we're gonna pull these contracts away from you, and like, oh, universe. Well, I have a multi-tiered kind of buffer system to where I can go a year and a half without having any interruption to my lifestyle. And then in doing so, I'm looking around. Okay, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to keep doing the same types of projects I was doing before? I can take a 30-day introspection period and then start looking around. Okay, what's on the market? What's out there? Do I want to focus on the dating business? Do I want to focus more on music? Do I want to focus here? What do I want to do? And then start kind of resetting the table for my next big goal set. But the consequence of me not worrying about it is a result of me having had to worry about it in the past. So I think it's money making and building wealth, but I'm definitely not in a place of lack for anyone out there that may lack the clarity there. It's
Mhm.
again, it's just updating, getting to the next level.
Right. Okay, let's imagine you have there's a guy and he's fat and he wants to work on his dating, but he also has like zero confidence in his body. What would be your step-by-step game plan for this type of client?
Oh, I get a lot of those guys on our complimentary discovery calls to where, hey man, I want to get out there and get dating. And the funny thing is, a lot of them do get girls. They just don't get the best quality girls, and their relationships are terrible because I hate to break it to you guys, if you're out there in this position, I've been there before. If she's not physically attracted to you, you're not going to get her best. And once more, I've been on both sides of that coin. One is clearly better than the other. You want her to you kind of want to be everything for her to be like, wow, this I'm excited to be with this guy, but I also feel at peace with him and I feel tranquil and he has a clear sense of direction of who he is, how he shows up in the world and where he's going. And if you're coming into the dating game and you're considerably overweight, then at an inner level, you're lacking a lot of this stuff. I say time and time again, not a huge fan of body positivity. Naturally, you can't change your race, you can't change your stature, you can't change your overall build, but you sure as shit can optimize it. So really give yourself the love and respect needed to get the best out of yourself physically, and that will help your dating game. So a lot of guys that come on board in this situation, most of them, I tell them, like, we're not even going to worry about dating. You're not in a position to be dating. Let's say you have 6 months of solid fat loss to go. Well, the type of girl you can attract now is not going to be the same girl you attract 6 months from now. And I've done that in periods of my life where I've had longer term relationships, and a lot of times the worst breakups, they're not the cheating or the infidelity or the lying or the manipulation. A lot of the worst breakups are like, hey, this is a really good relationship, but I've outgrown you. You met me 2 or 3 years ago when I was happy in the state I was, or I was striving to get to the state I am now. And in this state, I'm looking 2 or 3 years in the future.